Hey everybody, it's Andy. Thursday Live Office Hours, helping you build a career you love. Great to be here with you today. Got a good talk for you on some moves I want you to make to really help yourselves in your careers. We're going to talk about something that I think is going to be shifting in the market, the employment market, and the change in the way employers are going to evaluate you as an employee. And so I'm gonna tell you what that shift is. I'm gonna tell you why I think it's going to occur, and then I'm gonna give you five, count them, 5 things that I want you to do to amp up your game. These will be good, they will transcend time, but they're especially great for you to start doing right now before the shift happens. So if you're here with me live, get in, say hi. You know the drill, man. I do this every week with you. Get in, say hi, let me know who you are, let me know where you're from, let me know what you do, let me know what you need. Put some question marks in front of your questions so I can find them here after the package today. And if you are in one of my programs, maybe you are one of my leaders or my boot campers, or maybe you're on my Apollo team, let me know that in the chat so I know what you have available at your disposal, so when we get into the Q&A, I can direct you to the right spots and also give you a shout out. All right. Get in, say hi. Everything looks good. I see something that says excellent connection green, so we're gonna go. So what's this about? Well, I do think there's going to be a shift in the market. It's not a bad one necessarily, but it is one that I think is gonna keep you on your toes. So when you think about what we've been through in the last year or so with the pandemic, and employers, about a year or so ago, what happened was, we had the pandemic and the world started to shut down, and especially for white-collar professionals where we were not going into the offices, employers were shifting to try to figure out how we can work remotely and be as effective as possible. So I'm not necessarily talking about people in the restaurants and the bars and folks like that. I'm talking about the white collar professionals that go to corporate buildings, right? The high rises, so to speak, and we were trying to learn how to function in this new situation. And like everything in life, no matter whether it happens to us personally or whether it happens to us professionally, we figure out how to deal with it, and employers will figure out and adjust, and they have been doing that. And I think a lot of us would argue that we could have been operating our jobs, many of us, remotely for a long time. And there's absolutely no reason we shouldn't do that. You probably have even thought that we should be, as a corporation, more performance-based than presence-based, right? Why do I have to sit here at my desk each week? Why does the employer have to watch me? Can't they just let me do my job? Well, I have some good news and some bad news for you. I do think you're going to get your wish. That's the good news. And the bad news is I do think you're going to get your wish. That employers will start to become much more focused on your outputs as opposed to your presence. Let's talk a little bit about history here, right? Years ago, right, we worked 9 to 5, what? Because that's when the daylight is, right? That's when the factory workers were able to manufacture whatever it was that they were pulling together and doing. And they shifted into the corporate world, and employers, they liked the fact that employees would show up each day at the office. They wanted to create an environment, and they were okay with you not putting out maximum production because you were there. They also got to know you, right? They loved your congeniality. They loved your, having coffees with you and those kind of things. But now what's happening is with this remote shift, and you're not going to be as present. Now, maybe you're not going to the office at all, or maybe you're only going in a portion of the time. But I do think that that is something that you need to be mindful of, because employers are now going to become much more focused on your production. And the level of relationship that you build will be more difficult to do, and you're gonna have to be more mindful of this, because they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt that they once did. And so I need you to be aware of this, because they're going to become much more focused on the outputs, because if you're not going to be present, right, it's going to be a lot easier for them to notice the work not getting done. So I want you to think about that. And maybe you're somebody who's doing something, you're working remotely 40 hours a week. They're going to become so much more concentrated on what you're delivering that if you are not delivering it, they're going to find somebody who can. It's much easier than it's ever been to outsource something. Your work could be a project that they give to somebody, or they might be able to hire somebody who's twice as good, can do it twice as fast. So I need you to realize this, that this is going to become so much more important. Now, what can you do as an employee to make sure that your production is highest? So I've got 5 tips that I want to give you, and the first one is I think after I say this, and I know those who are actually doing this day in and day out, they will know that this is not a banal platitude in the least. It's actually something that if you really look at how you're performing, what you're doing, how you're getting better, it will transform the way you are as an individual. And it's one of my favorite mathematical formulas of all time. I even wrote the card out for you. But I want you to do this. Number 1, I want you to try to get a bit better every day. A bit better every day, and I want to be specific here, at something you do day in and day out, week in and week out. I even wrote the little formula here, and you probably have seen this, but 365 days a year. If you got 1% better each day, just 1% on the bottom, you'd be almost 38% better within 1 year. But if you are staying the same, you're gonna be the same. Right? So you might have seen this before, but if you think about it, the compounding effect of getting a little bit better each day. Now, this may sound trite, but let me offer you up some stories here, or maybe some examples. When you are new at something, it's much easier to get much better faster, right? As a novice where you don't have a lot of skills, as you build skills, you're going to be getting a lot better than 1% each day. But what about if you're somebody who's pretty good at what you do? I'll give you a great story. Actually, probably not too long ago, about a month ago, May 6th, I think it was, I gave you a talk on a different kind of job search challenge. Maybe you were here with me. And on Monday, at exactly 2:51 in the afternoon, I scratched out the talk. The entire talk took me 9 minutes. Let's just call it 10 for easy math. I know that because by 3 o'clock I was done. I wrote an entire talk that I then delivered to you 3 days later. Now, for purposes of illustration, I'm not even talking about the proficiency in being able to put a talk together that quickly, but I came here with you on Thursday, just like we are here right now, and I gave the talk, and it took exactly 37 minutes to deliver it. I didn't know it was going to be 37 minutes. That's just how long it turned out to be. And I know that because when I was done with the talk, we went into the Q&A like we'll do today. But when that was done and I shut the camera off or I stopped the live stream, I immediately watched the entire teaching portion of that day, 37 minutes. I just sat still and I watched it. But I did something that you might not realize as I watched it. I didn't watch it as me. I watched it as you. If I was them and I was listening to me talk, did I give them everything they needed to do and needed to know in order to accomplish what I hope that they can go out and accomplish? Did I say it as quickly as I could? Could I have taken something out? Something like that. But if I was them, would I have been engaged? Would that have made sense to me? If I didn't know what I know, would that have made sense? I watched it straight through 37 minutes. Then I rewound it. Basically, I clicked the refresh button and I watched it again. 37 minutes straight through, except this time I watched it as me. I watched it knowing what I know as a trainer and a coach. Did I forget anything? Did I say it as quickly as I could have? Could it have been 36 minutes? Should it have been 38 minutes? Were there other things that would have driven the points home better? Were the accents in the right place? 37 more minutes. All right, so I watched it twice. Then Friday rolled around, Saturday rolled around, Sunday rolled around, and on Sunday I watched it again just to see if I missed anything. I slept a couple of nights. Let me look at this with fresher eyes. Another 37 minutes. What's the math up to? 111 minutes. So it took me 10 minutes to write something, scratch the note cards just like this, deliver the talk in 37 minutes, and then I watched it 3 times, looking for different things. I spent 10 times the amount of time it took me to actually prep the talk, not to mention give the talk, and analyze everything so that I could get this much better at doing these things. And I've been doing this, I've been showing up every week for 3 years, right? So you get proficient, but how do you get even better? Is there a way I can answer the questions better? Is there a way I can deliver the talk better? That's what I'm talking about. Those of you that are well on into your professions and proficient at what you do, you know what I'm speaking about. So I need you to figure out ways to do this and take this seriously, but I'm talking specifically about something you do regularly. I deliver the talk every Thursday, or I deliver a Q&A to you every Thursday. But it isn't about starting it right at Thursday at 11 o'clock. That stuff starts Monday. There's a whole sequence. Each step I can get better at. The delivery I can get better at. But it takes time, it takes analysis. So you need to focus on this. You need to be better at what it is you do specifically and what you do most frequently. That's the first thing. Second thing is, well, I would argue, and I alluded to this earlier about as you're a novice, you can get better at something faster, right? Your percentage of improvement will be faster in the beginning. But is there a way that you can look at what you do, whether it's a medley of things, an assembly of things, one thing that has many moving pieces, where you can identify the area that gives you the greatest ROI? Okay, so let me give you a couple of silly examples here. So some of you know I'm training for a triathlon, and I was scheduled to do one last October before the pandemic hit. But a year and a half or so ago, I signed up for an Ironman triathlon and swimming lessons on the same day. I got a coach, and we did some work, and about a year and a half or so ago, we were in the swimming pool, and she was trying to give me some lessons. She's like, well, your arm needs to be here, and you want to move this up here, and your feet go there, and this. I was like, hold on, stop it. Stop. That's a lot of stuff. I'm never going to be able to remember all that, right? And I'm not nearly as advanced as you are. So as I go off on my own and I'm going to be practicing when you're not here, what's the one thing that I can do that will make everything else you just said easier? What's just the one thing? She said, well, your head's up. I don't know if you know anything about swimming, but my head was a little up high in the water, and what that meant was my feet sink, and as you try to swim, you got a lot of drag, and your body feels like it's sinking. That's true. I said, so let me get this straight. If I keep my head level, and as I turn my head to breathe, and I try to breathe like I breathe through a straw or whatever, that the more the lower my head, right, on plane, the better it will be for me. So I got to keep my head in the water. She said, yes. So for the next 12 workouts, the next month to 3 a week, that's all I did was think about where my head was. And all of a sudden, naturally, just from a cause and effect standpoint, everything else got a lot easier. While I didn't I didn't work on every single thing. I worked on the one thing that gave me the greatest return by just focusing on the one thing. So there is just one thing in your life right now that will make the rest of the stuff a lot easier. I'll give you another one. I sell training programs. I sell a job search coaching program. You all know it as the Big Boot Camp. And I put this together, and we promote it, 4 times a year. And it's available throughout the year, but we have these specials. And at the end of every special, we look at, well, how many people enrolled and how many people joined or were interested or any of that stuff. And no matter who you are, no matter whatever business you're in, whatever team you're on, you always want more. It could always be better. So we always look at that. But most people's natural reaction is, well, I should change the product, or I should improve the product, or that might entice more people. Except that upon closer look, I would know, and a lot of you probably know, that better marketing to get more people to look at the product is really where I could get the greatest return on my time, on my investment in time and money. So we focus on that. In what you do, whether you have an isolated piece in the chain, or whether you're an isolated piece on the team, or whether you have several moving parts within what you do, there will be an item that will give you the greatest return, that will make you that much better, that much faster, that will increase your results. You need to look for this, locate it, and find it, and work it, and work it, and work it. All right, that's the second thing. Third thing, there are foundational abilities that transcend everything that you do specifically at this moment. You sell widgets. Selling the widget itself, knowing how the widget works and all that good stuff is a hard skill that you have that I want you to get 1% better at every day. Except that there are a lot of things that go along with you being able to sell the widget that have nothing to do with you learning what the widget does or how to actually sell the widget. If you're a project manager and you're putting a plan together and you're running a project, maybe it's a business re-engineering, process re-engineering project, maybe it's an information technology project, maybe it's a construction project, whatever it is, there are hard skills that you need to have in order to know how to run those projects effectively. But there are foundational capabilities that are outside of the specifics of what you do at the moment that are the things that you really need to be getting better at. I call them capabilities, but what outside capabilities will improve my results the most? I'll give you a couple of examples from my life. So in 2004, I wanted to become a recruiter. I had never recruited a day in my life, and I had just opened up a recruitment firm called MileWalk. One of the first things I did to learn the trade of recruiting was I read what was considered at the time the Bible of how to be an executive recruiter, how to run a recruitment desk, so to speak. And I read this book, and the first thing I did when I was done with the book was I threw it out, because I said, if that's the way that the trade works, not only will I be, well, generally inhumane, but I will be miserable most of the time if this is the mechanics of what I'm supposed to do. So then the consultant in me, because I'd come from a consulting background as I made the shift, said, what actually goes into recruiting? Well, I have to reach out to people. I have to make a connection and build a relationship with them. I need to communicate with them. There's psychological components. I need to understand human behavior, what motivates people, how they make decisions. They have to make a decision to change what they're doing. I'm trying to offer them a better life. What would the hit points be? And all that other stuff. So that's what I focused on. Psychology, sales, right? Understanding, listening, empathy, right? All of these things are the capabilities. What I do right now, I just got done saying about how much time I spent analyzing the talk related to content that I deliver you. That's the part of the training of the steps I want you to take. But what about the delivery and the ability to do this without losing my concentration, having complete command and focus of what it is that I'm delivering to you? Or when I'm taking one of your questions from the chat, how am I completely focused on that? Every week for the last 7 weeks, I've been learning how to focus better, how to concentrate better. I'm literally taking a training course on concentration. So these are the kind of things that would make me better at being able to do what I do. It's a capability that I want to have that has almost technically no association to the delivery of the material that I'm giving you. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Those are the things that you need to identify for what it is you do specifically that transcend what you're selling, what you're accounting for, what you're building, what you're engineering. All right, so the outside capabilities, what are they? And start working them. And then the fourth thing is you got to step back, get a better perspective, and very much, very detailed, confirm the expectations with your boss or your management team of what is actually expected. I want to be really specific here. Okay, step back, gain perspective. All right, well, you ever get lost kind of in your day-to-day, what you're doing? You're working so hard, the project's taking so long, you're mired in the detail, you can't figure it out, the results aren't getting better, and so on. I'm sure we've all been there, right? Well, I like to take a little analogy from football. I love football. I know it's summertime. I'm talking about American football. And whether you've ever seen a game or you've ever played a game, maybe you're a soccer fan or football for everybody else around the world. Same analogy applies. But and you're watching the game, and these are the best players in the world. They make a ton of money at what they do. They've probably trained their whole lives to be super great at what they're doing, right? And the quarterback, he takes the snap, he drops back, and what the hell? I'm generous today. Let's say you're rich. You got tickets on the 50-yard line, just high enough up. It's a perfect view. You can see everything on the field. You can see all the players, right? This isn't TV. You're actually watching the game. Quarterback drops back. The wide receiver's open, right? Running down the field. Everybody's in the stands are screaming, except the quarterback doesn't see the open receiver, right? Why? Because he's got a 350-pound mammoth coming at him, chasing him the other direction. The receiver's way over there. Because the quarterback can't see it, right? Because the quarterback can see it. The quarterback would just throw the ball up to the receiver who's wide open. That's what it's like in our lives, because we don't step back and actually look at what the hell is happening. Why isn't this working? I'm doing all the steps. So what? So is the quarterback, right? You have to be far enough back. And then you have to be crystal clear on what's expected of you. And you might be thinking, well, Andy, isn't it my boss's responsibility to tell me and to be crystal clear on what they expect and how many widgets I'm supposed to produce and what I'm supposed to have done on such and such a date? Yes, but it's really your responsibility, if you are not crystal clear, to make sure that you are communicating them. Hey, Mr. Boss Man, what does a successful day look like today? What does it look like for this week? What does it look like for this month, the next 90 days, the next year? What's that question I always tell you to ask in a job interview, right? One of Coach's 5 favorite questions to ask. If I was to take this job, what would success look like specifically 12 months from now? Specifically? Well, you should be doing that on a weekly basis with your boss or your management team. It could be a 30-second conversation, or it could be an hour discussion, whatever's appropriate. But you've got to get these expectations, because this is what they're going to be more focused on. Remember, being away and not having to deal with commutes or air travel or whatever it might be is nice. It's less taxing on the body. But with that comes some cost that you now are going to have to make sure that you are producing at a rate that is appropriate. All right, one other mindset, and I want you to have the right mindset with all these, but I want to give you the 5th one. Let's call this one a bonus. But do I have any of my productivity members, my leaders out here that also have access to my productivity training? And what's the one thing that I always say about producing? Right? By the way, procrastination, mind you, is not an organizational issue. It is an emotional issue. So I'm going to try to help some of you procrastinators here by shifting your emotions and your mindset. Remember that. It's not an organizational problem or a bad habit. It has to do with this stuff up here and this stuff in here. But I want you to become an MVP by creating many MVPs. And if you don't know what I'm not going to leave you hanging there. I'm going to tell you what this is. Well, this up top is the most valuable player. This down here, these MVPs, are minimum viable prototypes or minimum viable products. What do I mean? I want you to spend the least amount of time and the least amount of money building something that is a workable product. It could be something, it could be a mini step or it could be a full step. But a lot of us, we spend way too much time hemming and hawing and trying to make stuff perfect. I need this to register with you, okay? People, everything is perfect in the PowerPoint presentation, okay? That 100-page strategy document that you prepared so eloquently in the Word document is perfect, right? The Excel spreadsheet, all the numbers tidy up real nice. Everything looks great, right? But real life is not Microsoft Office, okay? The product itself, it doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be breathing, okay? It needs to be breathing because it has to have some life in it. Get it up, get it moving. You can build the muscles later. See how the customer reacts to it. See how your team members react to it. See whether your boss likes it and wants to put it in play, or the management team likes it. You can always improve it later. but you can't improve it if it isn't breathing. Okay, so you've got to have this mindset. How do I get to a usable prototype or a usable product? How do I engineer it? And I'm using the word metaphorically, right? How do I create it fast and inexpensive so I could get it working and up and running? Okay, so let's recap these really quick. Now, I mean, this goes for everything. It goes for your job search, it goes for your jobs, it goes for your careers, it goes for everything. All right, I'm sure I got these upside down. All right, try to get 1% better every day at what it is you do every day, okay? So really concentrate. This is something you do day in and day out, week in and week out. This is part of who you are. Part of who I am is I send you a digest on Tuesday. Part of who I am is I show up here on Thursday, right? Part of who I am is I meet with my leadership group every 4 weeks, right? That kind of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. What improvement inside the medley or inside what I do will give me the greatest return for investment? What are the outside capabilities that I need that transcend whatever I'm doing at the moment, right? That'll make me better. How do I step back, make sure I got the right perspective and I'm getting clarity on what's expected of me, the specific goals, and whatever you do, minimum viable products as fast as possible. All right, I hope I didn't spend a minute longer than I needed to on this talk. If you enjoyed it, click the little thumbs up button, share this, make sure that you put this stuff out into the world to help people. And if you are watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.